The more you look at what Square Enix is doing over the last few years for Dragon Quest, it's more obvious to think that, you know what, I think they're quietly rebuilding this series with a bunch of remakes. It's obvious that the HD 2D remakes of Dragon Quest 1 through 3 weren't just nostalgia projects meant to celebrate the past. I really think that they were a deliberate return to the foundation of the series, a way to reintroduce Dragon Quest's identity and tone and everything to modern audiences. And then came Dragon Quest 7 Reimagined, a much larger and more complex game, receiving its own modern treatment, with a really great visual identity, reinforcing the idea that Square Enix isn't just revisiting these classics randomly. I mean, there seems to be a direction for me here, a step-by-step rebuilding of Dragon Quest for a new generation. So that obviously leads to a really important question that I want to examine in today's video. More remakes coming soon? Yes, I absolutely think so. But before we get to that, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, because almost 90% of the people that watch my channel on the regular are not subscribed. Leave a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on Dragon Quest remakes so far and what games you would love to see remade next. And let's kick this off. I think this is a really great topic, and I'm excited to talk more Dragon Quest as always. Now, to reiterate what I've already talked about a little bit, let's look a little bit more closely at what Square Enix has already done. Dragon Quest 1 through 3 form the original Erek trilogy. This is the origin point of the series, and these games established everything for Dragon Quest: the world, the tone, the structure of adventure, and obviously that went on to influence countless JRPGs since then. And remaking those 3 games first, I think, wasn't about updating older games. It was like resetting the starting point of Dragon Quest for modern audiences and giving newer players a clear place to start. And of course, this gorgeous HD 2D style plays a crucial role in that decision. Not only does it preserve the warmth and the charm of those original NES classic games, but also enhances it with modern lighting and some cool animation and overall really great presentation. And it feels nostalgic without feeling outdated, and importantly, it allows Square Enix to remake multiple titles without the enormous time and cost required for full AAA development. Look at something like Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1, 2, and 3. That is a over 10-year development cycle. I dare say once they get the engine for the HD 2D games for Dragon Quest 1 through 3, probably only took them maybe 1 to 2 years to build those games out. I think this approach makes it possible to rebuild large parts of the Dragon Quest catalog while still moving forward with the major question mark that we have in the Dragon Quest series now with Dragon Quest 12, which we haven't heard anything on in almost 5 years. And most recently we have Dragon Quest 7 Reimagined. Now, I'm only like 23 or so hours in, and you will get a full review out of me in probably the next 2 weeks or so, but I think it's really interesting to see a jump from an HD 2D aesthetic to this gorgeous, like 3D diorama-esque thing. It's really cool. Now, I haven't played the original Dragon Quest VII, as I've said many times on my channel so far, but from everything I've read, it's one of the longest, most structurally dense games in the entire series. And choosing to revisit this one at this stage in the remake pathway, it suggests that there's a more deeper commitment than just simply remaking the most obvious of choices. Square Enix appears willing to modernize even the more complex entries in the series if they believe that these games still have value for today's audience. And I know that Dragon Quest VII is insanely popular in Japan as well, so it obviously makes sense. When you combine this with the HD 2D trilogy, it feels less like nostalgia and more like a long-term restoration of Dragon Quest's legacy. I will also point out that I think Dragon Quest is hitting peak popularity right now. Maybe it's just me because I've finally caught the Dragon Quest bug. I've really been enjoying this series for like the last couple of years, and I've since gone out and bought like everything that there is to offer. But I just feel like there's a really great energy about Dragon Quest as a series overall. Now, of course, we can't mention Dragon Quest without talking about the Zenithian trilogy 4 through 6. Like Dragon Quest 1 through 3, the Erek trilogy, these form a connected arc with some shared themes and some narrative DNA. Now, admittedly, I haven't played Dragon Quest 6 yet, just haven't got there, but I did finish 4 and 5 in the last few months, and they were fantastic games, and there were some connective tissue between those 2 games. I'm interested to see what's kind of there narratively for 6 that ties everything in. But overall, structurally, moving from one trilogy to the next does make perfect sense considering Square Enix's history of grouping and revisiting things together. Accessibility is another major factor of these games. While a lot of people love these games, especially Dragon Quest 5, that's probably the most popular out of the Zenithian trilogy, they are not really accessible in a way that feels modern. You can play ports of them on your phone. I mean, that's probably going to be the most accessible for you, but I mean, who really wants to sit on your phone more than you already are? There also is the Nintendo DS versions of these games, and I really enjoyed playing 4 through 5 on my DS, and it's been a fun adventure, but obviously that's not the most contemporary, comfortable way to play these games. And for a series that Square Enix clearly wants to keep growing globally, the gap between these releases is only becoming larger over time. Now, each of these games also offer clear opportunities for meaningful improvement. I've spoken a little bit about this in my reviews of Dragon Quest 4 and 5, but let's touch on 4 first. Dragon Quest 4's chapter-based storytelling was really cool and I think really revolutionary at the time it was released. But a HD 2D version or whatever remake version could really be enhanced with some better narrative transitions and stronger character continuity. One of my biggest complaints was outside of the chapter portions of each character, you really lose the personality of that particular person you're playing as or is in your party. Party chat was non-existent in the DS version, unfortunately, unless you patch the game some way, somehow, but I just didn't do that, of course. Now, Dragon Quest V, widely regarded as one of the greatest RPGs ever made, could see everything elevated through modern presentation. Again, this is something that I spoke about a lot in my review, and there's so many beautiful moments and heartbreaking moments in this game that could be just really brought up to a high standard that would, again, re-revolutionize everything that we know about Dragon Quest. Now, as I've said before, I haven't played Dragon Quest VI yet, so if there are any, weak points that you would love to see addressed, please tell me down below in the comments. I know some people don't love this as much as these two, but like I said, I'm interested to play this at some stage this year. Now, as far as the remakes for 4 through 6, I really think that the HD 2D style would just really naturally suit these titles, making it an ideal style if Square Enix chooses consistency here between 1 all the way up through 6. But bear in mind, 5 also did have a PlayStation 2 port exclusive to Japan, so I'd be interested, could they apply the Dragon Quest VII Reimagined aesthetic to those games too? I don't know. I'm interested to see what they do. Now hang on, before we talk any more Dragon Quest remakes, if you want to support the channel in a more meaningful way, you can join the Patreon where you get all these videos early access and you also get your name in the credits as well, just like these really supportive and amazing people. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. More Dragon Quest right now. Now, Dragon Quest VII Reimagined introduces an interesting point in this conversation because it shows that Square Enix is not locked into a single remake approach. Rather than just adopting a strict HD 2D style, 7 leans more towards a more fully realized, modernized presentation. If you look at the original game for PlayStation 1, it looks similar to the DS entries of 4, 5, and 6, so it really just brought it to a whole other level with this aesthetic that I really love. And I was unsure about it first, but it's really working for me. Characters feel super expressive, environments feel like little cohesive dioramas, almost like Fantasian. I love that. And this game is a perfect bridge between classic Dragon Quest, pixel style, and more modern stuff as well. So this is a perfect way to remake this game, I think. So whether the Zenithian trilogy goes for HD 2D or modern stuff, I think it's only inevitable that it happens, but I think HD 2D is probably going to be the easiest and quickest way to get these games out. Now, I do want to speak a little bit more on Dragon Quest V because among the Zenithian trilogy, it is the one that stands apart and it is one of the best in series according to pretty much everybody that's played these games. And I would say it's a strong toss-up between number 1 for me. And it is an incredibly emotionally resonant game. It tells the story of childhood and loss and adulthood and family and legacy long before a lot of other JRPGs explored those themes. So the influence on the genre altogether is incredibly significant, and I would really love to see how this game is received by modern audiences. For modern players, Dragon Quest V might be more legendary than familiar. Same if you've never played Final Fantasy VII, but you've always heard about it. It's one of those names that you hear about, but you just haven't got there yet, or you're just not interested in playing an older game. So a new remake for this could change all of this by bringing the story forward, really preserving the tonality of this game. And if Square Enix is looking for a remake with both emotional weight and historical importance, Dragon Quest V feels like one of the strongest candidates possible. And of course, if they're going to do that, just do 4 through 6 anyway. Now let's talk about a game that I think is only inevitable considering the popularity of it, and that's Dragon Quest VIII. For many people, especially in the West, this would have been your first time playing a Dragon Quest because it was titled Dragon Quest, and before that it was Dragon Warrior. But this is significant because this was a jump to 3D from, this pixel art kind of stuff that was last seen with Dragon Warrior 7. So it's a pretty significant game, and this paved the way for what we see in terms of modern Dragon Quest with Dragon Quest 11. Now, obviously, because of the visual style of this, it's pretty easy to think that, we're going to get a more modernized version of this game. There's been a lot of fan projects out there that have been like retexture mods that look fantastic. But for me, look, I just love the standard PS2 version. I think it looks great and it works for me. I do need to go back and finish this game so I can finally talk to you guys about it fully. But I think in terms of aesthetic, it would probably have the Dragon Quest XI vibe, maybe just a little bit more touched up in terms of design and graphics and stuff. But, Dragon Quest VIII is pretty much already there in terms of visuals. And it's a beautiful looking game for the PlayStation 2. And again, I think it's only a matter of time as well, considering the popularity for this game. So perhaps we get the Zenithian trilogy 4 through 6, and we get Dragon Quest VIII immediately thereafter. Now, I don't know too much about this other than the fact that I bought it and I haven't started it yet, but Dragon Quest IX is one that a lot of you guys say is good, but also very, very long. So similar with Dragon Quest VII Reimagined, a game that clearly trims the fat off the original, who's to say they wouldn't do the same for 9? And another one that I don't know a whole lot about yet, because it's not available in English, is Dragon Quest X. Unlike most of the series, Dragon Quest X is Japan only, leaving many international fans without an official way to experience it. And over time, as a Dragon Quest fan, I guess you would think that this is like a missing chapter of the Dragon Quest story. There has been a fan effort in order to kind of localize this game and patch it in English, and it is playable. I haven't got there yet, but will Square ever do it? Probably not, to be honest with you. But even if they do, they could localize the Dragon Quest X offline version or maybe repackage it somehow. I really think it would be a shame to not bring this title to a broader audience. And that would really align with the effort to unify and modernize the series. So if Square Enix is truly rebuilding Dragon Quest's legacy, Dragon Quest X could become part of that larger plan, and I think it should. So with all these pieces considered together, HD 2D trilogy of 1 through 3, Dragon Quest VII Reimagined, I think the next possible thing is going to get a Zenithian trilogy 4 through 6 in HD 2D, and then thereafter we're going to get Dragon Quest VIII Reimagined in a similar way that we had 1 through 3 and then 7. I think we're going to get 4 through 6 and then 8. I mean, it's obvious that this no longer feels like a collection of isolated remake projects. This is a gradual rebuilding of the series to make everything more complete and accessible. I think Square Enix is really aware of the fact that they're not putting out a brand new title, and a lot of people are waiting very patiently for 12 to be released, and we've had no information since then, and there's been some change up of some of the key staff as well over time. So the safest bet is remake these games, get everybody excited, and once they finally clear the way for the remakes, the newest entry in the series can finally be released. So that's my bet. I'm going to say Dragon Quest 4 through 6 is next, probably starting at the end of this year, with 4 HD 2D, and then in maybe 2 years we're going to get 8 reimagined. I think that's going to be the way forward. So if you agree, let me know. I'd love to know your thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. It's clear that I'm obviously in a very Dragon Quest phase right now, but I really enjoy these games, and I'm glad that I can finally get into them now, but I would love to see more people access these games in a way that's really easy and meaningful as well. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in another video next week. Bye-bye.